Welcome back to Get the Scoop with Smirks. I'm Nick Erker, president of Smirks, and today my co-host is Zach Schwindt, a Smirks trader and our resident vanilla expert. Zach is also a customer of Smirks and uses our Smirks vanilla products in his retail brand, Origin Vanilla. Today we're excited to share some insights into vanilla, exploring the history, production, processes, origins, and trends of this fascinating ingredient. Zach, it's great to have you here today on Get the Scoop with Smirks.
Thanks, Nick. Yeah, it's great to be here. I'm excited to talk about all things vanilla. And with the holiday season coming up, I think it's the perfect time to highlight this versatile ingredient.
You know, I'm just blown away by the size of the global vanilla market. According to the Globe Newswire report, it reports that worldwide vanilla market is actually valued to be $1.43 billion in 2021 and is projected to hit $1.9 billion by 2028.
Yeah, it's a market with high growth trajectory. North America is the largest user of vanilla globally, with the Asia Pacific region being the fastest growing in terms of vanilla consumption. And France is the largest consumer of natural vanilla in Europe. So,
Awesome. You've got a lot of knowledge in vanilla. Would you mind sharing a little bit about the history of vanilla with us today?
yeah, I mean, in terms of the history, it was first discovered growing in Mexico, which is actually the only place in the world where vanilla orchids can be pollinated by bees naturally. Most vanilla in the world is actually hand pollinated, with a wooden tool. So it's kind of a rare thing for vanilla to be pollinated by a bee. Vanilla first departed Mexico in early 1500s on ships bound for Spain. It was originally believed to have been only a perfume at the time, and it wasn't until Cortez arrived in 1519 that the Spaniards learned it was also a flavoring agent. It was then brought to Madagascar for commercial production, and the country remains the largest producer by volume today.
So, coming from Fort Morgan, I mean, we're nowhere close to vanilla. There's no trees or bees or anything like that close to us that would facilitate that. So, how did you first get involved with vanilla?
Yeah, it was during a solo backpacking trip through Asia that I met a group of vanilla farmers in West Java, Indonesia, specifically in the village of Cianjur. And at the time, I had been teaching English as a volunteer, and on the weekends, I'd go out to the countryside and mostly explore coffee farms in the region. I was very interested in coffee during that time, and when I found vanilla beans growing alongside coffee and cloves, cacao, and that was the first time I actually saw vanilla growing, in the wild, and I had no idea that these green beans that were growing on a vine were vanilla beans, and I purchased a few kilograms from the farmers and bought it in cash and took it back home on the airplane. And when I got home, I started making vanilla extract in very small batches. And kind of decided to go all in on the idea. Started a brand called Origin Vanilla. I went back to Indonesia and met several other farmer groups in different islands. Java, Sulawesi, Sumatra. I spent time with them during the entire process, from pollination to curing and everything in between. And that's kind of what led me to get into the vanilla industry. So
That's pretty cool. Indonesia is quite an interesting place. We actually source a lot of products out of Indonesia. And, I can't remember how many islands there are. Do you remember how many islands make up Indonesia?
many thousand. That's all I know. There's a lot of islands. So
Yeah, man, that's cool. So, I was thinking back to how we first met, and we were chatting about it again this morning. My son Cedar, who's now 8, was only about 6 months old and was going to daycare with your grandma. She was watching kids at the time, and when I'd go to pick up Cedar, I was hoping for like 5 minutes. Hey, good to see you. Thank you. And that usually turned into like a 30-minute conversation with her, and she loved sharing stories about you and seeing about the different work that we did. And then we'd pass each other, and you'd be out there shoveling snow or something. But little did we know that our paths would cross again in this regard. But as we got through that, Donnie, years later, Donnie and I were looking at a newspaper article that was written about you, actually. And it was talking about a young man from Fort Morgan who'd started his own vanilla brand called Origin Vanilla. And it was based around your travels and the experience you just described. So, after that, we'd reached out to you and set up a meeting. And soon after, offered you a position here at Smirks. And you joined our team back in June of 2020 and have been a great asset to the company since then. So we've learned a lot of things together.
Yeah, back when I was shoveling snow, I didn't realize, that it would turn into this, but I'm grateful we crossed paths and, it's been an incredible journey since day one. So,
Well, around here we love to say that everybody's job has other duties as assigned, and lots of times I end up with the snow shoveling. But if you want to relive those days, I'd be glad to let you help out with snow shoveling later this year.
appreciate the offer, Nick. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. It's the least I could do, Zach.
Yes,
Least I
sir.
could do. But what did you learn though about the harvesting and processing when you were working with vanilla farmers? It seems like there's quite a bit of things that go into that.
Yeah, I mean, vanilla is anything but simple. Farmers, from the time you plant the vanilla, it takes up to 3 years before you actually start to see vanilla orchids growing on the trees, or the vines. Um, so that's a long time to wait, from the time you plant a seed. And vanilla typically grows up other trees, like cacao or cloves. Coconut trees is also a big one. Our Indonesian supplier now is launching a vanilla program, and they're going to be um, growing, the vanilla up their coconut trees, actually. Vanilla is rarely a standalone crop and usually grows best in harmony with other crops in a larger ecosystem. Once vanilla orchids blossom, farmers have roughly an 8 to 12 hour window where they need to hand pollinate the vanilla orchid with either a toothpick or some sort of paper clip or sharp stick that they can manually pollinate the orchid. Um, Once pollinated, they wait another 9 months before the curing process starts. And this is the process that basically turns the green vanilla beans into black vanilla beans that everyone knows and loves. So in curing, farmers will blanch the beans in boiling water for roughly 2 to 3 minutes, and then they'll put the beans in a crate to begin a process called sweating. And this is, a very important process, and everything has to be timed very, to the minute in order to be successful. But once the sweating process is done, they open the crate after about 2 weeks of sweating, and they lay out the vanilla beans under the sun on tarps to reduce moisture according to specification. Once moisture content is acceptable, the vanilla beans are graded according to length.
That is quite a lengthy process there. And the Smirks, we'd always kind of done a little bit of vanilla and been getting bigger in the vanilla space. And then when you joined the team, I think that that really helped accelerate our involvement in vanilla to the levels that we're working with today. But what really made you decide to launch your own brand along those lines, and where do you sell the Origin vanilla that you get with Smirks here?
Yeah, I started Origin in 2019, and the concept was to bring the farmer closer to the consumer in such a traditionally outdated supply chain. Traditionally the farmer would sell to someone else who cures it. That guy would sell to someone else who, exports it, and traditionally there's just too many people involved in the supply chain. So the whole idea was to bring, kind of consolidate everything and effectively lower prices for the consumer and pay farmers more. But I mainly sell my vanilla at farmers markets, at Boulder, Denver, at chocolate festivals, wine festivals, different events around Colorado. And I also sell quite a bit on my website as well. So we're stocked in a few local grocery stores as well here in Colorado and a few on the West Coast. But through it all, I've learned a lot talking directly to consumers about their preferences, and also discovered a lot of the different beliefs and misconceptions people have about vanilla as well.
So what would you say is the biggest misconception around vanilla, and what makes some of the vanilla that Smirk supplies a good fit for Origin and our customers?
Yeah, I think one misconception is that a certain geographical location is better than the other. I mean, it really just depends on, when the beans were harvested, were they ripe, how are they cured? I mean, don't get me wrong, growing regions do play a part in quality, but it's really the technical side of the processing and curing that determines the quality of the flavor. Um, so Smirks researches and investigates all the supply chains that lead to the products that we sell, and ensures that all of our customers, Origin vanilla included, have the best quality vanilla available.
Very interesting, Zach. Very interesting. And generally speaking, what are the main origins of vanilla, the geographical regions that the vanilla comes from?
Yeah, the biggest origin by far is Madagascar. They grow over 3/4 of the global supply. It's like 10% of their GDP. It's a big deal in Madagascar. There's countries like Uganda, Indonesia, and Papua New Guinea who also hold a pretty significant share of the global market, but they're secondary players. And countries like India, Ecuador, Mexico, and Malaysia are also growing vanilla, but they don't really account for a large share of the global market.
Yeah, when you and I first started talking about that, I found that very interesting because it seems like whenever anyone here in the office takes a vacation to Mexico, our coworkers always say, "Hey, bring back some Mexican vanilla," but it's not really a widely marketed one. I thought that it would be a bigger deal than it is.
Yeah, I mean, when you think of Mexican vanilla, you do find it in the shops in Cancun and that kind of thing. But in terms of food safety and whatnot, there's not a lot of vanilla with a lot of there's not a lot of processors down there that have appropriate food safety documentation that would be required by SMRCs. So,
Yeah, it's something we got to pay attention to, make sure everybody has a good quality product in the supply chain.
right.
So, during the holidays, what are the most popular uses for vanilla?
I mean, people love making their own vanilla extract. That's very common. Creme brulee is something people love to make with vanilla. A lot of people make their own beer at home, use vanilla beans in stouts and that kind of thing. Oftentimes pastry chefs will buy vanilla beans so they can cut the bean, slice it open down the middle and scrape out the vanilla seeds inside, which are packed full of flavor. It's also known as vanilla caviar, those little seeds. So
And to think I only use it for French toast.
you're missing out. There's a lot you could be doing with it. I mean, savory dishes.
Got to expand my horizons.
Just got to find an excuse to use it, man. It's almost always appropriate.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, what new and emerging trends and products are you seeing that are incorporating vanilla?
I mean, there's breweries all around the country that are using vanilla. There's certain companies that are using vanilla in olive oils. I've seen vanilla in marinades, which is something kind of interesting, taking a more savory approach to it. Candle companies are using vanilla extract, soap companies. It's also being used more in snacks and trail mixes, protein bars, several categories, whether it's the liquid, the powder. People are using vanilla in almost everything.
Wow, that's great. There's definitely some interesting innovations happening around vanilla, and it's great hearing your insights. And really jealous and admire your adventurous entrepreneurial spirit and being just 20 years old, going off to Indonesia and backpacking through the woods by yourself to learn about vanilla and starting your own thing and coming here to share your knowledge and excitement with us. So. Yeah. If our listeners want some high quality vanilla to use at home for their holiday projects, you can check out Zach's website. What's your website there, Zach?
Yeah, it's just originvanilla.com.
Fantastic.
Yeah, appreciate it, Nick. I mean, vanilla really is my passion, and I'm grateful to be doing what I love on a daily basis.
We're happy to have you on board here at SMRCs, helping to educate and guide our customers on the best, most cost-effective bulk vanilla products to use for their specific applications. And at SMRCs, we see the vanilla category continuing to grow. We look forward to working with more customers to explore the many ways that vanilla can be used in your product lines and why SMRCs should be the source for your vanilla. If our listeners have any questions, please reach out to us by email at whatsnew@smrcs.com. We look forward to hearing from you.